Mike Briggs is our cattle market analyst this week. In 2014, Nebraska achieved something it never had before. The state exported more than $1 billion worth of beef. The Nebraska Department of Ag says the total volume of beef exports has doubled since 2009, while the value of muscle cuts shipped during that time increased by 250%. Meanwhile, meat prices across the country continue to rise. The price for all fresh retail beef jumped 9 cents in December, averaging exactly $6 per pound. That new high was 96 cents more expensive than December 2013. Of the 12 months last year, only 2 recorded a price drop from the previous month for that category of meat. The cost of ground beef increased every month in 2014 except for December. We talked with Mike Wednesday morning about beef demand and margins in the feedlot, but after a recent slide in cattle markets, we began by mentioning how tough the last couple weeks have been.
Woo! Yes, it has. The funds decided it was time to get out, and when they do that, they do it all at once.
You think the funds, because this is what you referenced the last time we were here, you think they have that much impression?
My concern with the funds is, and here's my soapbox talk for the day, cowboys are always worried about how many cattle the packers are feeding. And that's a concern, and that's fine, but you better start worrying about how large the fund positions are in our relatively thinly traded and small cattle market, because they get those things so big, whenever they decide to move, that's the way the market's going to go. And the exchanges are not going to self-regulate, because they're making a lot of money off all that fund trading, so they don't want to do it. I don't have a problem with funds in general. I just have a concern about how big we let their positions get so that they start swaying this market around. They can't do that like in the stock market as easily because it's so big, but our cattle market's not that big.
But how much of this is fundamental in the cattle markets?
In my mind, zero. Nothing's changed. We didn't make any more cattle over the holiday weekend, over the holiday season. The cattle, in fact, slaughter numbers are not as high as a lot of people anticipated them. The last time you guys were here, we talked about how we might have a little dip. This wasn't what I was talking about. It wasn't what I referred to, but I was going on the fact that we thought there would be a little bit of a rise in the slaughters, and there has not been. So this is all technical, and the funds trade technicals, and once it starts going, it's going. Now today we've stabilized a little bit. Cash is less than last week, but we're getting more for cash, $1 higher today for cash than we got yesterday. And it really kind of looked like they had us on the ropes yesterday. So I learned a long time ago from a gentleman that basis is the best indicator of demand, and we are trading cattle at $10 over the board. So if we're trading that kind of a basis, that says the demand is pretty darn good here up front. Now, once that starts to whittle away, which I anticipate it probably will, it'll equalize. That's what it's supposed to do. It'll do that eventually, and that'll kind of signal that maybe it's time for the board to go back the other way, but we'll see.
Where's that demand coming from?
I just don't think there's enough cattle for these packers to keep going, and the packers are in the black, and so that's helpful because then they're going to want to process cattle. So that's great for us because we don't ever want to start backing up cattle even if there's not very many. So as long as these packers are buying cattle, and that was the interesting thing. The first week after the holidays, we had a huge show list, and everybody's like, oh God, here it comes. And they sucked those up like there was never going to be another one. Well, they obviously didn't anticipate these lower slaughter numbers either, but they're making money, so I think we're good there. There's concerns as we go out front, though, with the dollar and exports and the drop credit and things like that bother me.
Because?
Well, the American dollar is so strong because ours is the only economy that's really doing really well, excluding China. And so therefore our dollar is really high and everybody else's currency is low, so it makes it very difficult for them to import not only our beef, but our hides and our offal and all that stuff. And once that drop credit has been really high and the packer makes a lot of money off that, you start whittling that drop credit away, you start whittling into his profits, and eventually that slides down to us.
That chunk that got taken out of this market, does that indicate that now the top has been set?
I don't want to say that, but of course I'm not very smart. I guess I'm more hopeful than anything. I'm hoping, because once again, we didn't make any more cattle. I'm hoping with cheap gas, putting more money back in consumers' pockets, and when we get to grilling season, we almost always have an up, and I'd like to think we're going to catch another one, but will we make new highs? I don't know. I think we went too high last year. I think, and that's one of the deals where the funds were pushing it the way we wanted them to push it, and they went a little too far. So I don't know. But I would like to think we'd make one more run, but I could be wrong.
Give me a peek at where margins are.
Margins are still good up front. Now we've taken $20 out of the board. We've taken $10 out of the cash in the last 10 days. So, they're not as good as they were, but they're still okay. I think they're fine. Where the difficulty comes in, we've got the board and the cash at such an inverse to the deferreds. You're trying to buy cattle against a 142, 143 August with the cash market up here at 162 makes it really difficult. You got a lot of guys, math whizzes out there buying cattle that they're just going to say, well, it's going to be 100, it's 162 now, it's got to be 162 then, and they're buying against that, which, go ahead, I hope you're right. At
the end of this month, we'll get the cattle inventory report. What do you expect, or what do you hope to see?
Well, I expect to see that we've got a bigger cow herd. We've had more retention of heifers. I'm going to say 500,000, 600,000-700,000. I don't think that's what would be surprising. If you got a number like 1 million or over 1 million, that would be really surprising. So we'll see. I think that's going to throw something in there. So long as it's not over 700,000, I don't think it's going to jerk the market too hard, because I think they've anticipated that. The other thing's going to be, cattle outside of feed yards and all that kind of stuff. That's all going to be kind of interesting. The big deal will be how many more cows we have.